using it along the way. So we have used it, but I don't think we have used this particular one. We want to do it. What I'm going to do is going to be the while loop. And when it comes to looping, it's a very interesting concept in programming. If you miss out, you might miss a whole lot of things. And there are lots of things that you need to use loops for. Just so that you will not stress yourself hitting code again and again. So we're going to look at the whole concept of looping tonight, and I'll just go straight to the point and let's get started. So let me try and share my screen. So let me create a new, try to create file. Okay, try to create a new. So I'm connecting. You can just name this loop. Okay. When we make mention of loops, I don't know if anybody has an idea of loops, what it means. For now, I have any idea of loops. I don't know if anybody has got any idea. If you want to share, let me just go straight to the point. Let me just try to tell people. Please, you can tell people that we are live. Sundays like this, they always find it difficult to join classes. I don't know if you're going to move the class from that day, but I believe we have decided to do something and we're going to stick to it. We're going back to finish this 100 days of coding. So anybody has an idea of loops? What loops mean in programming? Any idea? Or even though it's outside programming? Okay.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Sunday.
Okay, I think loops is just like in form of out of programming now. Loops is just like a complete circle to go around. So for something to run through the whole what's it called? The whole container going through. So that is loop. So it can be when a particular statement is correct, it should go around. Or for a particular statement, if it is correct, then it should go through.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. That's very, very correct. In a layman's kind of way, and it's actually wonderful. So let's just get maybe a defined kind of definition, but it's just whatever you said, Mr. Sunday, is actually true. But let's look at it in a whole programming concept. So looping is actually more of like an iteration. It's like more of like a repetition over a sequence. Like when we have a particular sequence that you want to follow up, so it's more of like an iteration or like a repetition over a sequence. Go over it again until it is completed. So in Python, we make use of loops, and they are built using the core keywords for while, and also for. So we use the keywords of while and also for. We are going to see a practical example. So in tonight, we're going to look at tonight's concept is going to be the while loop concept. And when you mention a while loop, we're going to see it practically, and let's create a very good example of this particular concept of while loop. As I'm doing it, I'm going to explain what it does. So let's go to an example. The example we want to say is like, let's say we want to print numbers from 10 to 1 backwards. We want to print, maybe start from 10, 9, 8, 7 till 1. By the time it gets to that particular point, we want to end the loop. So first of all, what we're going to do, you're going to define a particular variable, which is going to be 10. So from then, once we do that, we're going to use the shorthand kind of a subtraction that is going to be every iteration, every sequence is going, every repetition is subtracting a particular number from that particular 10. So let's say n is equals to 10. And we want to see the concept of while loop. So we're going to be using the print statement. And we're going to see how it's actually making a whole lot of sense. So let's print something there. You know that printing always come out. So we want to just see something. So the first one is, okay, let's just say something maybe before this was before the while loop, before while loop. So let's just see how it's going to work for us before the while loop. How was it running before the while loop? So now what we're going to do is we're going to print the n itself. We're going to print the n. We're going to print the n, and let's just say we want to put in let's say in a kind of quotation just to illustrate it that this is n. So we're going to put comma and reference the main n. This first one was mainly just to give it like an explanation, like n is equals to this. So now that we have done this is before the while loop. We're going to print the n before the while loop. And by the time we do this, we're just trying to, once we print it out, I think once the main concept is once the output comes out, you're going to see the difference here. So just watch out what I want to do. And now we bring in the concept of looping. While n.
Am I the only one not seeing the?
Okay. Please, can you see my
you're the only
screen?
one.
Who is saying that? Mr. Thompson, is that you?
Yes, boss.
I think it's your own connection over there. Mr. Fonobon, can you see? Okay. All right. Okay. Mr. Tosi, please just try and fix it up. Maybe you should log out and come back again because it's very important. The whole concept of while loop tends to be it tends to make people not to understand. It's very difficult at some point to understand. If you miss the whole concept of it. So just go back and come back again. So the whole concept of while loop, we say that while n, I'm going to explain it later. While n is greater than 0. While n is greater than 0. While n is greater than 0, let's see. While n is greater than 0, definitely we're going to end with a colon. Sorry. While n is greater than 0, I want you to print n. Okay, I want you to print n. Please don't worry, I'm going to explain this to you very soon. So in the process of printing n, while n is greater than 0, print n. Now there's something I'm going to put under, which I'm going to also explain to you as well. So n is equals to n minus 1, which also is there was a particular concept we used before. We said that n plus equals to 1 is still the same thing as n is equals to n is equals to n minus 1. N minus equals to 1 is the same thing as n equals to n minus 1. So don't worry, I'm going to explain it as well. And by the time we do this, and I said, okay, now let's print after the while loop and see what we have. So print, this is after the while loop. So you can just use the same thing that we did. Okay, after while loop. So after the while loop. Okay, and what are we doing? Do the same thing that we did before, and now say print. This is what I want to use to explain the whole concept of while loop. Okay, so just don't worry if you don't understand what is going on right now. I'm going to explain to you minus what n. So by the time we do this, by the time we run this, and let's see what we have. So you can see what goes on. So before the while loop, n, you printed n, which is 10, and immediately went through this particular while loop. Every time it is going through an iteration, every time it's going through a sequence, because we said that in this particular while loop, we want it to print n, And in this particular printing of n, you want it to go after every iteration, after every cycle, it is subtracting the value of n by -1. So that's why it's after every iteration, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then once we are done with that, we left the loop, we left the while loop and now said, okay, print after while loop. We can see here it printed after while loop. And what is the value of n now? Is now what? 0. It means that once n is greater than what? 0, it means that we need to do what? This particular while loop will continue running. But once it goes to what? 0, it's going to stop. Now let me go to the concept of, let me now explain the operation that has to do with while loop when it comes to while loop. Now, operation of while loop. While loop is what? It takes the rule condition of being true before execution. It must be what? It must be true. For a while loop to work, that particular condition must be true. If you can see in this particular line here, once we say that n is equals to 10, and we say that while n is greater than 0, it means that n is actually what? Greater than 0. That's why the condition kept on running. But once,
Please, sir, I can't see your screen.
please, can other
Thank
people see my screen?
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay. Good. So let me check the chat box, please. I think someone has a message. Okay, I can't see your screen. Okay, I hope we can see it now. Please pay attention to this while loop concept. Now, it means that by the time this condition is true, it checks the rule condition of being true. Why is it running this particular while loop? Because n is definitely greater than 0. You can see that 10 is greater than 0, 9 is greater than 0, until it reaches what? 0 itself is going to stop, because that condition is not true. It becomes false. It checks the condition again. If it is true, it executes again. The cycle goes on. It checks for the condition before starting each iteration. If the condition becomes false, then the loop stops. So immediately this particular loop stops, it means that the condition is what? False. Now the next thing we're going to look at, if you can see under the print statement here, for the while loop condition, you saw that I gave a particular condition variable, and that particular condition variable is trying to tell you that, yes, anything that you're going to do, I want you to subtract n by -1. Subtract n by 1, and once you do that, it's going to do what? It's going to decrease the iteration by what? By -1. So if you can see, every while loop must always have what? A conditional what? Every while loop must always have a conditional what? Variable. If you do not give a conditional variable, or if your conditional variable is wrong, it's going to give you what we call an infinite. Sometimes it might end up having what we call infinite kind of loop, which we are going to see right now in tonight's class. So I don't know if you understand the whole concept of while loop, because if you don't understand what I've just said now, you might be lost throughout the whole class. Please, if you have questions, please ask me now, because the next thing we're going to do is to start applying this while loop concept and see it in a real life kind of scenario. I've been given an example here, and this example is just trying to explain it. After doing that, now explain what it does and the whole concept of while loop. Please, if you do not understand the concept of while loop, please ask now. Otherwise, you are going to lose a whole lot of concept. You might miss a whole lot of principles, a whole lot of things, because while loop sometimes tends to be more complex compared to the for loop. So if you have any questions right now, please ask me before I move forward. Okay, Mr. Sunday. Mr. Sunday, your hand is raised. Mr. Mark, your hand is also raised. Please, Mr. Sunday, go first.
Okay, thank you. Please, the code again.
Okay, sir. I'm here. Can you see my code?
Yes, if print can come after the condition.
Sorry, please, I can't see your code though.
What did you say, Mr. Sunday?
If that print n can come after the condition.
the print n can come under the condition. What? Remember the
If it's after the condition, can it come after the condition? Like after n equals to n minus 1.
now let's check it out and let's see what you have. Let's see a practical example here. We like it. We like seeing it live and direct here so that we can see what it does. So can you see it?
Okay.
All right. So it's the same thing, right?
Yes.
All right. So now next, any other question? Okay, I saw Mr. Mark's hand up. Mr. Mark.
Okay, good,
Mr.
okay, good
Mark.
evening. Yeah, good evening, Ikemini. Sorry if I was sounding a bit funny today. I said, let me just try to join. What's the difference between the for loop and the while loop? That is one. Then please go back to the code again. There's something else I saw there. The print, why are we having that print lines in two places? I saw it up and I'm seeing it down.
Okay, fantastic. Well done. So first of all, the for loop and the while loop is actually most especially it does the same thing. But the whole concept of while loop has to do with while a condition is actually what, true or false. Mainly, while always operates on the condition of what, true or false. But for loop must not necessarily be what, true or false. If it is not for does not actually make use of the condition of true or false. But while does that. If it does not, it's not going to work. While true, while false, while this. So that is the whole difference between that for what I can explain to you right now for you to at least understand at this stage. Now, why am I using different print statements? You can see that the prints are in different blocks of code. Why did I do that? Because the first thing I wanted us to understand the whole concept of while loop and while loop before we start the while loop and after the while loop. So you can see the first here, we did print before while loop. I want to print the value of n, which is actually 10. Now, what we meant, why did we put prints here? Because we want to do what? We want to explain this particular print n here is to tell you that after each of the iteration of the while loop, it is going to print in the word minus one of it. Like now, you can see the whole value between 9, 8, 7 till 0, it is this particular print statement here. So now that we have left the while loop, the particular while loop, and left the block of code, we are now going to do after the while loop has been executed. Now we are leaving the block of code and we are going to what? To look at the while loop itself. You can see after the while loop, n becomes 0. But before the while loop, it was what? 10. So that's the whole concept of why we use the print statement. I hope I've been clear enough. Mr.
Yes,
Mark, I hope
thank
I've
you.
been clear. All right. Okay. All right. So let's give another practical example here. Let's give a practical example here. Let's give a practical example. Let's say we want to find the squares of odd numbers from 1 to 20. Want to find the squares of odd number from 1 to 20. So the first thing we're going to do is let's define a variable x and let's put that particular variable to be what? To be 1 if you're looking at the odd kind of condition here. So x is equals to 1. And we now said while x is less than, we want to make it from between 1 and 20. So it's going to be while x is less than or equal to
I can't see your screen. Okay, thank you.
Hey. It seems anytime he says he can't see my screen, the system automatically responds to him. Okay, so while x is what is less than, while x is less than or equals to, while x is less than or equals to 20. Remember, I want to print they find the squares of odd numbers from 1 to 20. So while x, that is why we started with 1 there. While x is less than or equals to 20, what are you going to do? I want you to give me a condition that you can actually know how to find an odd number. So if the value of x that you're going to have, if x is modulo, that means if the value of x that you're going to have is modulo, what is modulo? I think we have done odd and even number before, like trying to explain that concept before. So if that part, the value of x is modulo, anytime it gets into a division of what? Of 2, once it divides, it goes to a particular kind of division, modulo division. If the value that is given is 1, it means that particular number is going to be is definitely odd. So whatever we are going to have, definitely we are going to now say, let's print a statement. Let's print something here and now say, okay, remember that if condition always comes with either if that particular condition is true, this is what I want you to do. Now, what are we going to do? Right? We're going to say, we're going to use the format method. You can use the F string, but tonight I want to use the format method. So square, remember I want to find the squares of the odd numbers between 1 and 20. So square of, when I'm going to reference the first variable, you always use a curly bracket, and we'll put in a 0 here. We can decide to put 0 here. Is, now, once you say the square of a particular number is this, so we want to use this second variable here, and we're going to define inside this curly bracket in a power kind of way that say that this is the square of a particular, this is the square of that particular number. So is, we put it in a curly bracket and put in 1 here. And by the time we do that, we leave it and say dot format. This, you can also use the F string as well and reference the first variable, which is x here, and comma. The next one is going to be what? That power of what? The square of that particular x, which is going to be x, double asterisk 2. Okay. By the time you make this, by the time you see this, you can see that this condition has been satisfied when it comes to this. But we have not given this condition for what? The conditional variable for this particular x to move, to continue moving from maybe adding to +1, +2, maybe continue moving, just like we did for the very first one we did, that n is equals to n minus 1. This is a conditional variable. So if you do not put a conditional variable for a while loop, it's going to cause an infinite kind of situation. So which we want to avoid that at some point. So what are we going to do? We are now going to set the conditional variable. And this particular set the conditional variable is going to be, since we want it to be, we started x to be what? To be 1. We want it to be increasing as it gets to 20. If it's less than or equals to 20, that's when the while loop will stop. So x, in the first one we used n is equals to n minus 1. I don't want to use this concept again. I want to use the shorter way of doing it. Instead of this, I'm going to use plus equals to 1. It's the same thing as this particular one, but just that is minus here. If I added plus here, it would have been the same thing, but just x that is different and plus that is different. So take it back to what it was before we. So it's almost the same thing. It's never almost, it is the same thing, just that I wanted us to like understand the whole concept. So it means that once we do this, as x is originally 1, it keeps on adding 1 to that x until it reaches 20. By the time it reaches 20, if that particular number is what? Odd, it's going to print it and say, this is it. This is what you have for odd numbers only. So let's see how it's going to work for us here. So what is going on? There's an error here. What do you think that we did wrong here?
If
There's an error here.
double quote. I mean, quote. The colon
What
for
do you
you.
think we did? A colon. Fantastic. Well done. Thank you. So by the time we do that, let's see, we enter. So this is where the print is supposed to be. So you can see a very important, very good. I like that. So you can see now, if let's see if it's going to run now. It's still running. I don't know why it's slow. Why is it slow? I don't know why it's slow, guys. Okay. The main thing it's supposed to have done right now is to tell you the square of 1 is 1, the square of 3 is 9, the square of 5 is 25, the square of 7 is 49, something like that. I don't know why it's behaving this way right now, because maybe let me stop. Guys, run this particular code on yours and let's see what will happen to yours. Because I'm seeing it moving here. It's showing here and coming back up. Guys, please run it over at your end. And if you have seen any error on my code, please let me know. If you feel there is an error on this particular code, which I'm already seeing it. There's an error on this particular code. I don't know who has seen it as well. There's a reason why it's not running, and we can see there was a green arrow between the while and the if, the while and the if. Anybody that wants to look at this code and find a way to figure it out, I'm seeing the error right now. There's an error on this particular code. Who has seen it? Who wants to clarify it? Look at this particular condition we did here. Look at this one we did here. Something is happening here. And look at what we did here, and it's actually very different. Anybody that has seen the error, the code is not wrong, but there's a particular place you're supposed to have placed a set of value, a set of code. Anybody? Okay, Mr. Tosin. Mr. Tosin, you have the floor.
The the x equals x plus 1 should be in the while loop, not in the if.
Fantastic.
Statement.
Fantastic. Well done. Well done, Mr. Tosin. So the condition is supposed to be for the while loop, not for the if. This particular condition, this x plus equals to 1, is a condition for the while loop, not a condition for the if statement. So let's see how it goes. It's still an invalid syntax. What do you think is wrong here?
You have removed the quote again, the double quote. I mean the colon for the if
Okay.
statement.
Okay. I like that. So let's see it again. Let's make it I'm looking at time. Okay. So let's compact the code and let's run it again. You can see now it's working perfectly for us. So that was the very nice session of debugging. I did an error as well. I didn't even observe it, but we got to find it out. But this particular, always know that your conditional variable must always be in the while loop as well. The particular part we put it then was inside the if statement, which is not what we had wanted. We wanted it to be in the while loop. So this, you can see the answer here. Square of 1 is 1. Square of 3 is this until we got to 19. Mainly stop. We got to 19. It actually did what? Stop, because we have set the condition to be what? X is less than or equals to 20. As it is increasing, once it gets to 20, since 20 is not is because equals to 1, we should take the last one, which is what? 19. So let's do that we can do that the same thing for even number. Let's see, guys, do it for even numbers. Let's see. Do the same thing for even numbers. You can do your own. Let's do the one for 1 to 20, 1 to 30. Do it for even number. Post it in the group chat. Let's see how you can come up. Do the same thing for even number. Let's see what you come up with. Please try it out. I'm just giving you just 3 minutes to figure something out. Please, 3 minutes. I'm just looking at time now so that we can just look at another example before we close. The next one will be to find the sum of even numbers from 1 to 10. So just try the same thing I've done, but do it for even number. So this is 909. By the time it's 912, we'll just stop. Just try it out for an even.
Please,
number.
I can't see your screen again. No.
Square of even. Okay. Can you see it, sir? Okay, I'm seeing some listing in the group. Okay. Okay. Trying to load Image's code. Okay. All right, you used fantastic. Well done. Well done. So did it run for you perfectly? Imagine, did it run for you perfectly? So this is between 1 to 30, and she got it fantastic. Well done. Any other person that's dropped something? Okay. Okay, we have just 2 minutes left. Well done. Emedon has been able to figure it out, and she has done a very fantastic job. Yes, it did. Very good. Well done. Please, I want to see your codes. At least we have some few minutes left. Let's look at how we can get some hands-on doing. Any other person that wants to try? Mr. Sunday, you figure out Dr. Pemi, Dr. Solomon, Mr. Tosin, Mr. Funso, Mr. Mark. Please just try something. Come up with something. Okay, who is using PyCharm? Just use it. You can use PyCharm and it will still work. Use it to still work. Just that particular code. Okay, this is just 1 minute left. My time is 9:12. I'll have to continue with what. Okay, Sunday I'll drop something in the group. Okay. Well done. Yours, you did it from Mr. Sunday. You did your own from 1 to 10.
Yes.
Okay, well done. At least you understand what you're doing. Okay. It's nice. It's okay. Okay. Any other person? Okay, it's 9:12. So let's go back to our code. Let's go back to our code. Let's see how we can make it work. So the next thing I want to do is to find the sum of even numbers from 1 to 10. So let's create a new code. use cell, sorry, like saying code. So let's see. So what we're going to do now, they like this particular concept. We're trying to define variables first before we move. So let's find a way of let's define a variable. Can just say let's use k equals to, because we want to start from one with a, what they call it, the sum of even numbers. Is it even numbers from 1 to 10? So let's also give the summation also a value. Let's give it a value of 0 for now. And I said, wow, this particular k is less than what? Is less than 11. Less than 11. Sure, we want to make it from 1 to 10. So let's see how we can actually make it work for us. So while k, which is starting from 1, is what? Is less than 11. Because definitely it's from 1 to we want. So 11, we are not saying equals to 11. So definitely, what is it going to want it to be even? So what is the condition for even? So if k modulo what? Modulo 2 equals 0, which is going to, this is the sign for an even number. What are you going to do? We're going to now say, okay. Now, please pay attention, it's very important. Now, the summation which you have defined already to be 0, you're now k that we're going to have to add to the summation by using that shortcut addition, the way of making it the way we want to. So we're going to say summation plus equals k. So any value that you get from k that is an even number, you are going to add that particular k to what? To the summation, the value, the particular value of what summation originally that was what? 0. So as you're doing that, that is the whole concept of what? The addition of that particular what? Even number. Please get set. You also be doing the one for odd number as well at the end of this before we close for tonight. So by the time we do that, now we have done the condition for addition or summation of even number. Now, what are we going to do? We are going to set a conditional variable, the condition variable that we want to use. How do we want it to move as it is going through each loop? How do you want this particular value of k to be moving as it's going through each loop? So before in the previous one, we started here, we now said k, this. So we are going to leave the if loop, the if block, and go to the while block, which is going to be k plus equals to what? 1. We want it to be moving as it is going until it reaches to what? Once it gets to less than 11, that is when you're going to the particular condition of the word false, and that is what you're going to have. So by the time we do that, how are we going to print a summation? We are going to, once we are through with everything inside this particular while loop, for if we're going to now say, okay, print summation, which we have already defined before. So anything that we have, anything that is inside this particular, just like let me just say, you're in a room, like you're in a room where everything is going on inside that particular room, and in that particular room, let's say this particular room is the while loop room, and inside this while loop room, there are certain things that are going. There are certain students that are distinctive enough to be even, only even. So anyone that is even inside that particular class or in that particular room is going to come together and say, okay, this is what I want to do. Let's come together and let's see the number of us inside this particular room. Just like, okay, maybe let me use boys and girls in a room. While the students are actually okay inside the room. Now, if these students are girls, okay, what are we going to do? Sum the number of girls And anything you have, I don't want to understand. I don't care what is going on inside that particular room. But what I want to do, once you leave that classroom, I want to see the number of girls in that classroom. And that's why I'm leaving everything inside that classroom. And I said, okay, come out. One result should come out. And that's why I'm using that print summation. It is outside the loop. It's outside. It actually happening inside the classroom, but the result I'm getting is what is outside the what the uh, the classroom. I don't know. I'm just trying to explain the layman thing. So I don't know if someone understands what I'm just trying to come up with. So that's why I brought out the summation to the outside. So anything that we have for summation, we are going to get in the value of it now. So let's try and run it if it's going to give us an answer. So you can see the summation of all the even numbers inside this particular condition is what is going to give you what 30. So I don't know if you can. Let's do for odd number instead of even number. Let's do for odd number. Let's do it for odd number. And once we do for odd number, we can call it tonight. Can anyone do? Let's try it out for odd numbers as well. I've done for even number, the sum of even numbers from 1 to 10. So let's do it, the sum of the odd numbers from 1 to 10. Who is trying? Please, if you are trying, just raise up your hand so that I know that we are not wasting our time. Please, if you are trying it out, raise up your hand. Just put an emoji wherever you are. Okay, Mr. Sunday says trying it out. Okay, it's only Mr. Sunday that is trying it out. Please, just try it out. It's very important that you understand the whole concept here. Okay, Mr. Fonovan is also trying it out. We just try it out. Let's see. Please, you can drop it in the group, or you can drop it any way you want to drop it. Okay, and see someone has dropped. Okay, Medium has dropped it. Okay, Medium, well done. Okay, X is equals to this. Good, 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 fantastic. Well done, well done. What was the sum of it, Medium? What was the result? She's typing somewhere. I know she might not really want to type in somewhere. 25. Okay. All right. So that's what she said is the sum is 25. Okay. So we're still waiting for those that are still trying out. Please, once you're done, just drop it in the group chat or you send a screenshot. Anyhow you want to make sure that we are doing something. Okay. So get ready. We'll be stopping soon. Let's see. Okay. Should I still wait? Should I still wait? And see one answer from Medium. Any other person? We'll call it tonight. Okay. Any other person? Are you still trying, Mr. Sonda? Are you still trying it? Okay, at this particular point, I would like to stop the recording.